Welcome back to the Trail Gators podcast, Trails Up. It's Alex Embry here. And we talked a lot last week, and we talked so much that we got Jared here sick. So he's back. We're back and better than ever. Jared, how you feeling?
Good. I'm excited, man. We got some football. I think since the last time we had our episode, I think we filmed on the same day as the first football game. So
Yes.
it's good to have some back. Excited for what's to come. And there's a lot to talk about, obviously. So I'm ready to get after it.
Yeah, no, we spoke a lot about almost every sport. Obviously, heavy focus on college football. Dabble in some NFL at the end. If you didn't catch that, we'll cover a little bit more NFL, and especially the rookies. We'll have a good rookie conversation. But also at the same time, we're going to talk college football, our bread and butter. So let's just jump right into it. Yesterday, the top 25 power rankings came out. Obviously, that's a fun topic to debate about in college football. We all know Alabama's going to sit, somewhere one or two. Being the powerhouse that they are, they're number one again. Jared, let's talk shop. Give me your takeaways from this?
All right, so my immediate takeaways, and I think obviously we're going to get into some like overrated, underrated conversation, but like my immediate takeaways, I hate the fact that the AP poll always resembles the previous season. They don't take into consideration like people that have left, huge transfers, big signings and recruiting season. They pretty much just roll with exactly what it looked like last season towards the end of it. Yes, there's changes here and there, but like as you've noticed, like most of the non-Power 5 teams that were on the top 25 at the end of the year last year are also on the top 25 this year. So we got like Louisiana, Coastal Carolina, obviously Cincinnati's up there at number 7, or no, sorry, at number 8. But yeah, it's just like a lot of the same teams, and I hate the fact that the AP poll doesn't put like more resources in trying to make it like more, suitable for what's going to happen at the beginning of the year. I mean, a lot of the teams up at the top obviously are not surprising at all. We have the, 4 or 5, even 6 teams that we expected to probably be in the top 6. So no surprises there. I think obviously I think that they deserved probably a high seed, but someone that I think that's just a little too high, and I think we're going to disagree on this, is UNC. I think that they're like so desperate to find an ACC team to like be up there and like contend with Clemson, and obviously like UNC and Miami are those two teams, and everybody knows that Miami's probably going to lose to Alabama with the first game of the year. So it's going to be a tough road ahead for Miami. And UNC, obviously, they had an amazing offense last year. Like, don't get me wrong, it was fantastic. I think they were like the second most explosive offense in the year. But listen to this, and I'm sure most people know this. They lost Michael Carter, Javonte Williams, Diami Brown, and Daz Newsome, who were their top contributors on offense. That's 4,800 scrimmage yards and 48 touchdowns of production they lost last year. That means that on their current offense, they only have 18 touchdowns combined from last season. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Sam Howell. I think he's a great player. But unfortunately, we saw like last year, he played well, but it just wasn't enough. I like their offensive line. They're pretty good. So I don't see the downside for the run game. I'm sure there will be guys that can get in there. For example, I think Ty Chandler from Tennessee transferred there. So I think they'll be fine, but their defense is where I'm worried. Their line and their line backing core is so raw. They're really young. They lost Chaz Surratt, who's their leader last year. I think that they're a top 25 team, but I don't think they're a top 10 team. And that's why I think that they're being a little overrated being put into this slot. I mean, lest we not forget, they lost to Florida State last year. Florida State was horrific. They can be a team where their flaws can be shown pretty easily, and I'm just worried about that with this UNC team.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like you said, we're going to disagree on this. We're going to disagree on the fact that I'm a big Sam Howell believer. I think he's QB1 going into next year's draft. I think, the offensive line that helped open up the running game is still there. Michael Carter is a great college football runner. He's going to be a very solid in the pass game, but he's going to be a great third down back or good third down back. Javonte Williams, obviously the stud that he is, he's going to be great for the Broncos. But at the same time, that line really helped open up. And yeah, they lost to Florida State early on, but they came out and spanked Miami. I mean, and Miami's on this list here, and obviously they didn't have De'Aaron King, but they came out. That offense embarrassed Miami, and that's the UNC that I'm going to roll with. I'm rolling with that later on. UNC, yeah, I think they're the second best team in the ACC, like you said. They're going to be the ACC and the AP and BCS are looking for that team to contend with Clemson. I think UNC is going to be that team. I'm a big Sam Howell believer. Sam Howell is literally everything that Mitch Trubisky was supposed to be, and the fact that he's coming back for his third year. He's a Heisman Trophy favorite and up there. And I think he's got great talent. You look at how he runs the offense. And I think he's going to make those guys better. The defense, they're returning 10 guys, so it's not like they're bringing a brand new defense. Yeah, they struggled, but at the same time, you're going to have another year under your belt. I do think. The Mac Brown, the fighting Mac Browns will have. I think they'll improve on defense, and I do think that the Sam Howell will really prove himself. I see him as that my quarterback to look out for this year for the UNC. So I do.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't. This isn't like a shot at Sam Howell for me. I mean, obviously, I mentioned I think he's really really good, but this team represents a team that I look at on paper, and of course, like things can change when you see them in person. But as of now, looking at them on paper, this is the type of team that can blow a game that they should win. They have inexperienced weapons. Their defense is pretty young and raw. It could lead to them losing a game or two. And obviously they play Notre Dame later on the year, which is good for them. They have VT in the first game, Virginia in their third game, Miami in their eighth game. So they do have time to figure everything out before they get to some of their harder games. But I just see this team as someone that could blow it against NC State or Wake or something like that. They scare me with some of their inefficiencies.
With those concerns, those concerns come down to me for two things: the defense and the quarterback play. Weapons, you want them to come up with big plays, you want them to get open, but quarterback, there's not. I mean, you're not. He's not facing, South Carolina again. He's not facing that South Carolina, or he's facing South Carolina. He's not facing guys, those tough SEC defenses. He can get these receivers open by throwing them open. He's got the arm talent for that and arm accuracy for that. So, when it comes down to an NC State, if they are kind of struggling, through three quarters or in the fourth quarter, it's a tight game, you want to rely on your quarterback to make the play. Sam Howell is that guy. And they might not blow out in teams. I do see your points based on what I'm saying. I think that this is a team that could let down a lot of games and easily jump out of the top 25 really quickly. They do have a very tough schedule. As mentioned, Notre Dame, Clemson, they play those, and Florida State, Miami, for what Florida State is worth. But they do play those tough games, and the defense has got to step up, and the quarterback play has got to step up. That's what wins. That's what wins you those close ball games. And I think that I think Sam Howell has that it factor to help them.
He does.
Win those games.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He definitely has that it factor. I just think Notre Dame, Miami, tough games. They could sneakily lose one of the other ones, and then right there, they just don't look. They just aren't a top 10 team to me. So who are some of the teams that you think are overrated?
Overrated. I mean, I'm immediately looking at Miami. We're talking about Miami right now. I mean, their season is basically contingent on De'Aaron King. And they lost their best defensive player, Jalen Phillips. They lost Gregory Rousseau as well. They lost their edge rushing, which is essentially what made them very good. They got to the quarterback, they put pressure on, and then they forced turnovers. Both those guys are gone. And do I think there's guys to step in? I didn't see. I mean, again, they got torched by UNC late in the year. To me is I mean, they literally got ran through, and that was essentially like. And then you just saw like you didn't see Miami play well the rest of the year. Like that was it. That basically killed them. Derek King obviously missing, miss his return, come back from the ACL, and to me, for guys like him that use their athleticism, to create, you want to give ACLs, a season to kind of progress into what they could be. So, and Derek King doesn't have it. He's a senior this year. This is his last year. Like this is it for him for college football. So, do I really see them making that step with Derek King coming back? No, I easily, and they got a tough schedule too. So I don't think, they come out here, and I don't think they're in the top 25 conversation towards the end of the year.
You don't think they're going to be top 25?
No.
Really?
I don't think I think Derek King is not going to be the Derek King that we like. Just because the ACL injury, and for his style of play, it's not going to bode well for Miami, coming out.
Yeah, I didn't realize until like today that they play Michigan State week 3, which is pretty tough. I mean, obviously they're not a great team right now, but I mean to have to go like against Alabama, App State, who's not a cupcake either, and then Michigan State. I mean that's a
they
pretty
could go
brutal.
1-3. They could easily go 1-3.
Well, yeah, I mean they're gonna beat. They play Central Connecticut State, so
then you got Virginia, you got at UNC, at home against NC State, Pittsburgh, who came on late last year. Like this is again very tough schedule. You come out with 4 losses in the first 2 months. That's not top 25 football.
Well, I think what you're saying, like I think their offense has the opportunity to be incredible and explosive, especially in the ACC where the defenses aren't phenomenal. They did add Charleston Rambo from Oklahoma, which I thought was a good pickup for them. But I mean, as you were mentioning, their defense was terrible last year, and they just got even worse by losing like most of the pressure that they got on the quarterback last year. Now, I mean, I know the ACC is not a big defensive conference, but in certain games they might get ran out the building. I mean, they're gonna get murdered by Alabama.
They're gonna get spanked,
absolutely murdered. I mean, like now that Alabama puts up points and can just like throw it down your throat, they are just gonna get absolutely destroyed. So that will be entertaining to watch. Any other teams that you think were probably seeded a little too high?
I mean, I was very bullish on Pac-12 football last year. Obviously, they had a super shortened season. Washington's one of those teams I felt, they had a lot of people opt out. They had a lot of people that didn't play, but like Oregon, for example, they're coming in. They're going to be top 15. Washington. I mean, the Pac-12. I think I love Utah. I love there are some Pac-12 teams that have some upside, but if you're going to stick Washington in the top 25 again, didn't play a lot of football last year. They did have a lot of guys that opted out. You're going to come in there. You can think about it this way: you got fresh legs, you got rust. I'm not really sure what Washington we're going to get.
They have a good defense.
Yeah, again, Pac-12. If you love unders, you watch Pac-12 football this year. I'm like Utah, same thing. Like you're gonna get those games. I genuinely think Washington's a little bit. I just don't know what to expect from him, to be honest.
I think that I honestly, out of the past 3 years, I think this year is probably the best chance for the Pac-12 to get a top 4 team.
Yeah, they got a lot. I mean, again, USC is good this year. Arizona State's good this year. Oregon's good this year. Like, is Washington going to be that sleeper for you then?
Honestly, in my mind, USC has no excuse for not being the top of that conference.
You're a Kendall Slovis guy? Slovis.
I mean, he's a great quarterback. They have the weapons. Obviously, they lost a few people like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I like. But they have the potential. I mean, they get the recruits. Like, they should be able to put everything together. I mean, the team that I probably like the most that's getting a little slept on is Arizona State. I think they came in at 25th or somewhere around there. I think they barely made the AP pool. I mean, I love that team. I think they're coached well, obviously. Jaden Daniels hopefully put some meat on his bones this year, but I think he's a good player. Yeah, I think the problem is they just eat up on each other. Like no one can ever like take a stranglehold on that conference and just like own it the way that I think Washington in 2016 was the last team that made the college football playoff from the Pac-12. Like no one's been able to do it since then. But I think if one of these teams can take a step up and just, play solid football the entire season, I think that this could be the opportunity for a Pac-12 team to make it. I don't think I'm ready to make a call on who I think it is yet, but hopefully in a few weeks I can.
I think I like your take. USC really has no, they got no excuse. Slavis comes in, he's they play well towards the end of the year. Again, I'm a big, and especially in college sports, you look at it in basketball too. It's really, I feel like how you finish, and you talk about this, how you finish really means a lot, especially if you got guys coming back. I
think that means a lot. I think that means a lot in football, honestly.
Yeah. Exactly. I think college, just period, any sport, but definitely it's how you finish that season. You want to go into the next season with those high expectations. I think if I do pick a team to come out of the Pac-12, I think USC over Oregon. To be honest, I just like you said, a quarterback play is it for me. The deciding factor.
All right. Well, you talked about UNC as one of your underrated teams, and obviously quarterback play is going to be huge for them. My underrated team is in a similar boat, and that's Ole Miss. So I love this team. I mean, if you know me, you know I am a big Lane Kiffin guy. I love that man. He is hilarious, and I mean, he is hungry to win. The guy held his team accountable and lost 30 pounds this offseason. So he was kind of like trying to lose weight while trying to keep the team motivated. I love that. Low key, something cool is that they're 100% vaccinated, which I think could come into play this year. So that's pretty big. They had the second most efficient passing offense unit in the Power Five, obviously only behind Alabama. But I love Matt Corral. Let's be honest. Last year when Corral was bad, he was really fucking bad. I think he had like a 6 interception game. But when he was good, he was incredible. I think he finished in the top 10 on PFF, which is insane. I mean, obviously their defense has some
LSU
issues.
was their last game that they played. So I mean, if you want to pad the stats, there you go. If you want to finish strong, you take that game.
Well, hey, I mean, LSU has some good defensive backs, so I mean that looks
not last year. No one played for him last year.
Well, yeah, true. But yeah, I think obviously their defense is going to be the thing that everybody's going to question. They were 13th in the SEC in defense, but they return a lot of seniors, which sometimes I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. But they got a bunch of transfers. They have some JUCO guys. And they really addressed their defensive issues in like getting their freshmen and recruiting. So they got 3 4-star defensive backs. They got 2 of the best DLs, and then they got a DE that was a top 10 prospect. So I think they did good in recruiting. I think they finished 17th in the nation. So if some of those young guys can get in there and play well for their defense, they need it desperately. Like they can score so much that it doesn't matter, but if they can have a decent defense that is about average in the SEC, I think this is a team to watch out for. The cool thing, too, for them is they don't have to play Florida. They don't have to play Georgia. They get a bye week before Alabama. Not saying that they're going to beat them, but Lane's going to have some cool plays and mix it up before Bama. And all 3 of their big games are Bama, LSU, and A&M, and there's at least 1 week in between that. So they kind of like can lead up to each one of their big games. I think they're one of those teams that could just sneakily like beat a big team and get a couple big wins in there and finish in the top 25. So I think they probably deserved a top 25 spot at the beginning of the year. I know they finished 5-5, but I think with all things considered, they're a top 25 team in my book so far.
Like you mentioned it, Ole Miss always recruits well. They're always one of those. For some reason, they just never put it together.
I don't know why, because
I don't know
who
why
would
either.
want to
Like
go to
Lane Kiffin,
Mississippi?
I'm a Lane Kiffin guy as well. I shout out to Blue Martini Boca Raton. When he was during his FAU days. But I'm a Lane Kiffin guy. I think Ole Miss, yeah, like I said, they recruit well. Defense optional, and defense has always been optional under Lane Kiffin, but they're
Yeah.
going to put up points.
And the thing is, in the SEC now, recently, I mean, defense has been kind of optional.
It has been, and I think, and like you said, like you mentioned about the Pac-12, I think the SEC, especially the SEC West, is going to beat up on each other, and I think Ole Miss really they could sneak out. I like them personally, but I'm not sold on A&M, especially without Kellen Mond. I'm not sold on Arkansas. I'm not sold on any of those. Besides for the Alabama, I'm not sold on any of those SEC West. So I think, I think that and they're not going to play them, but personally, I mean. They could essentially be. I think they could end up the second record-wise, the second best team in the SEC if they pull out some of those upsets. Because Georgia's going to lose it. Georgia's got Clemson on the books right away. They got some other tough. They got Florida. That could easily beat up on I think out of the SEC, Ole Miss could surprise a lot of people. And like you said, and I think it 100% comes down to scheduling, but also at the same time, like they could put it together. This could be the year they put it together.
And I think it's huge. Like, obviously, we're talking the SEC has kind of gone to the wayside. Defense hasn't been that important the past 2 years. And the best two defensive teams in the SEC right now are Florida and Georgia, and they don't have to play them. So I think that's huge for them. And I would love to see Lane pull off some sneaky upsets and possibly Bama. I would love that.
That would be interesting. Is that in Tuscaloosa though?
I
think it is.
I'm not sure.
Ole Miss. Let's do a little fact check. But while I fact check, I do want to ask you. We're both Big Ten fans. We're both big. Oh yeah, that is at Tuscaloosa. So that would be interesting. But we're both Big Ten fans. We haven't talked Big Ten yet. I think Wisconsin. I have Wisconsin as one of my underrated teams. I think they're basically every year they lack quarterback play. And again, I've talked this whole show about quarterbacks because I do think that even
this is probably the best quarterback since
this is. Yes, and I think like you have with Ole Miss, they just got to put it together. I think Graham Mertz helps Wisconsin put this team together. I do think the Big Ten might take a little step. I love Indiana as well as to kind of come out, but Michigan's taking a step back. I'm not sold on Michigan State, even though we talked about them as a tough test for Miami. I'm not sold on Michigan State. I think Wisconsin. And also, are we sold on Ohio State this year as well? I mean, obviously they're a top 5 team, but they lost Justin Fields. They do have the weapons.
I'm not a big Justin Fields fan, and that's been very well stated, and we'll get to that later. But yes. I mean, that's a big loss to them. I mean, obviously they're a talented team and they can reload, but I mean, it depends on what's going to happen with Quinn Ewers. I mean,
no chance do you throw them in right away? I don't know if I could if I'm
They probably won't. Yeah. I mean, they probably won't. I mean, I don't know. I'm just this could be a down year for the Big Ten. This might be one of those years where they kind of all beat up on each other. I mean, if you look at it on the top 25, we have Ohio State at 4, and then Wisconsin at 12, Indiana at 17, Iowa at 18, Penn State at 19. And then Michigan got like 12 votes.
Yeah, they're like 27th, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so, I mean, this could be one of those years. I mean, Penn State is at Wisconsin the first game of the season. I think that has huge implications on the Big Ten for sure. That's a big game.
Can we talk about the slate, the first week slate, real quick? I mean, we've got some ball games. We'll get to that down the road, but just since we brought it up, there are a lot of fun ones.
Yeah, and there's one in my neck of the woods that's probably the best game there's been in the past like 10 years. So,
yes, well,
it's a good one for sure.
Do you want to plug Trail Gators being at the game? Or is that
I'm not
to be
sure
determined?
if I'm going. I'm not sure if I'm going yet, considering tickets are like out the wazoo because we're in driving distance of Clemson and Georgia. So
that's true.
People are forking up the big bucks, but I will definitely probably be in the region. for
We'll
sure.
cover that. We'll definitely cover that for sure when we get to week 1. But like I said,
Yeah.
I think the Big Ten's gonna beat up on themselves. Do I think they got a top 4 team coming in? I don't think so. I think Wisconsin could come out of the Big Ten if there is a team. I just think that they're built for this type of season. Graham Mertz, I think again is the best quarterback they've had since I don't even know when. So I do think Wisconsin they've got it. I think they'll be the team that kind of comes out of the slugfest that is the Big Ten this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Ohio State, like, their defensive backs are shaky. I mean, they were pretty shaky last year, too. They
lost Sean Wade.
Yeah, I think what C.J. Stroud, who will be the quarterback, I mean, he's probably going to get the first crack at it. And to be honest, he has some amazing weapons. He's got Olave, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Obviously,
again, like we talked about at the top of the show, is the quarterback. I mean, yeah, weapons can make a quarterback better, but I genuinely think that if you put Sam Howell at Ohio State with those weapons, he's gonna go bananas. But if you put a guy, if you put a name in the Ohio State quarterback, you're throwing him in there at North Carolina. I mean, again, I just don't think that works out. I think Ohio State really does take a step back. I think that this year is kind of like hey, let's get ready for next season. So I just don't think they have it this year.
My problem is I always say that, and I mean then it's been Barrett.
This to me is like the Dwayne Haskins year.
And he was really fucking good.
I was not sold on Dwayne Haskins.
Dwayne Haskins was unreal at Ohio State. What are you talking about?
That Purdue game was so good. I mean, yeah.
Didn't he have like 50 touchdowns?
No, I don't think he went. I don't think he went that off.
I'm pretty sure he was in the Heisman. I'm pretty sure.
What year was that one? That was 2017.
Yeah, he threw 50 touchdowns 2018. He was one of 7 quarterbacks to do it.
So 2017 then he was started 2017. This is all great fact checking too. I really did my research on this one. But there was
Dwayne Haskins was really good in college. I mean, I'm thinking the 2017 year because that was the year that he came in and somehow Michigan and the refs blew that game for Michigan. That's the year where they shouldn't have been. Yes, I remember that. It was 2017 is what I was referring to. Okay.
Anyway,
I love that you thought he was shit, and he was like, he said like
because I remember the games that just pop into my head about Dwayne Haskins, the college quarterback, are Purdue and Michigan in 2017, and he stunk them both up, and then he also beat a bunch of terrible teams. So
fair, yeah. I mean, every year when they reload, I'm like, well, they're gonna struggle after Barrett left, after Haskins left, now with Fields. Like I always am like, well, and it's the same thing.
Okay, can we? All right, let's just get to Fields. Let's just get to the Fields talk. I don't understand why you don't like Justin Fields.
I think that he just doesn't make the right read. Like I think he's just a one read type of guy. And when he gets pressure, he doesn't know what to do to the ball, and that's what happened in his preseason game at the beginning.
He went 14 for 20, 142 yards.
I know.
106 passer rating, 5 carries for 33 yards and a touchdown.
Okay, so I was gonna get to this. His yards, his EPA, which is like expected percentage, was negative 1.75 in his first 3 drives. That's when he fumbled, which was idiotic. I mean, I'm sure you saw that.
It was a bad fumble.
And he threw the ball away when he got pressure on one of his 3rd downs, and it was like not necessary whatsoever. And guess what happened after his first 3 drives when he started? I think he went 12 for 14 from his 4th drive on. Guess what happened? The defensive unit switched out from the first unit to the second unit.
So again, you're also going to take this from a guy that this is his first NFL reps, coming and playing at Soldier Field. You're going to get the jitters, and then you lock in, and you perform. Like that's just how it works.
I
Like
mean,
if we want to talk like
it's
your guy's
fair.
Trey Lance, let's talk Trey Lance. 5 for 15. Is
Yeah,
that
no, he
like?
didn't look great.
And he had he had one
People
long
were
touchdown. 5
yeah, and
for 4.
people were going crazy over him because of the one touchdown because it was 80 yards, but obviously it wasn't that great. To be fair, honestly, most of the rookie quarterbacks didn't look great.
You know who actually did? And this is another one of my takes. I think we're just gonna ramp. We're gonna organically get to our takes. Mac Jones, I think sneaky had an unbelievable. And the reason why it is, yeah, the Josh McDaniels system for Tom Brady was let's get guys over the middle of the field. Let's scheme them open and just
Yeah,
and make the right reads. Mac Jones does that. You're not asking a lot from Mac
yeah.
Jones in this
No,
system. I
he's
think
gonna just
he's in the
give.
if you put him in any system where he has to make a play with his physical talent, that's basically the other 29 teams that's where that comes from.
Well, he's one of those guys, and he fits into that system. You need a guy knows how to win, and just you can give him the playbook, simple reads,
It's
simple slants, outs, and just dink and dunk down the field. I mean, that's what Brady made his career out of with the Patriots.
as much as we
And
love Cam Newton, he doesn't have it anymore. Like he like and I think
I think he'll be fine, but
he's gonna play 4 or 5 weeks. He's gonna get absolutely obliterated by Tom Brady in week 4, and then Mac Jones, it's gonna be the Mac Jones year from then on. But I think, like you said, if we're looking at what the Patriots asked for in a quarterback, there is no better quarterback in this draft than Mac Jones is that. And again, like and I think like none of the like Justin Fields performed the best statistically out of all these quarterbacks.
yeah.
And sure, if you want to say it was against the second team unit, whatever, it's still. I mean, he still performed. He scored 2 touchdowns. I mean, he managed. He won the game for the Bears. I don't care if it's. I don't care what it might be hype. Go ahead.
You know who I actually think out of all the quarterbacks
Say Zach Wilson.
No.
Sam Ellinger. Sam Ellinger.
I don't think you know what I'm about to say.
Who?
It's horrifying.
Who?
Davis Mills.
Oh, come on. What are you talking
Dude,
about?
he did. Davis Mills had probably, I mean, maybe not stat wise, but he looked pretty good. And I
So
was
to reiterate this is so he went 11 for 22 for 112 yards. And again, I am stat humping right now, but this is what I have to work with. 11 for 22, 112 yards, 5 yards per attempt. He got a 46 passer rating, and he was sacked once and threw a pick.
Yes, I know.
So what can we talk about?
Well,
so
basically,
you think he outperformed Sam Ellinger?
No, basically what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to sneakily say that there is a chance that if Tyrod isn't playing well, that we might get some Davis Mills action.
I'm sure listen. We might get to this in another episode, but I was looking at win totals for teams. That under for the Texans looks real nice. It's 5.5 for win totals.
Oh wow, that
looks real nice. We're gonna talk about that much later on, but
yeah.
But like
unless
you said,
unless they know something we don't. So
there's no yeah. We have a couple weeks to talk about that, but I think like you said, the rookie quarterbacks. You liked Davis Mills this week. Who else did you like from this weekend?
No, I mean I didn't like Davis Mills.
Well, then why you're gonna squander the Davis Mills take right now, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm holding you to it. Davis Mills is your guy. Continue.
Fine, I'm Davis Mills till we die. Honestly, the thing that impressed me was I liked that the Bills' defense took a lot of risks. I mean, I think that's one of the big things about preseason is go out there and try some stuff and work around it and take a risk. And Leslie Frazier did that with his defense this past weekend. At one point, he had all 4 rush guys on the field, just sending them after the quarterback, and they looked really good. Gregory Rousseau looked really good. Obviously, he was really raw in the draft, but I think he led the preseason so far in pressures. And then they also drafted Carlos Basham from Wig, and he played a significant amount. And AJ Epinesa, who was drafted the previous draft. They've been saying that he's taken a huge step up. Now, this is a team that was about average or a little above average in getting pressure on the ball. But I think if they can bring in some guys that can come in on third down and be flashy and get those big plays like Rousseau, like Basham, they can definitely take a huge jump from that. I mean, we know that they're a really, really good team. Like, they're going to contend. We know they're going to be in the playoffs, and they have a shot at going to the Super Bowl. Like, let's not lie. And if they have guys that can come in on third down and try to get after people like Mahomes in the playoffs, or, you know, during the season against like Miami, to try to get that number one spot in their division, I mean, that can make a big difference. Getting a game or two there, or getting a few sacks every here or there in every single game. So I think that was huge, and that's something that definitely stood out for me with Leslie Frazier's defense.
Yeah, no, I'll touch on this real quick too. Russo, I think he reminds me a lot of Leonard Floyd as far as the build and his strengths. Leonard Floyd came out of the draft. He was drafted 8th overall by the Bears, which is obviously super high, but is doing super well with the Rams. You know, they're basically speed. They're basically put the blinders on and go get them, guys. You know, both those guys. You know, they're basically one trick ponies on the edge. They'll get again. They're raw. They got the physical tools. I love Leslie Frazier. I love the Bills. I think they're a great team. I think if they are going to try to, I think the archetype is out for how to beat and slow down the Chiefs. One of them is hope the Chiefs have 2 hurt offensive tackles. The second one is you got to have that Vita Vea presence. That's what the Buccaneers had. And I think that's what the Bills are missing here. They've got they got a very solid front seven. I love AJ Epinesa. I'm a big AJ Epinesa guy. I also know that defensive linemen do start to develop a little slower, but I do think he's got great upside. Like we talked about Rousseau, he's a super raw prospect. If he develops and if he's able to develop into whatever version of edge rusher he could be, I think there's a lot of great upside with him. I think they do miss that guy in the middle. I'm trying to think who their guy was back.
Well, they just signed Star Lotulelei. He's getting
also
up there
33. Like he's who was their guy that they had? Wasn't Gerald McCoy that they had?
Williams.
No. First round pick they had. He played in Auburn, I believe. I can't think of his name. He'd be great in the team right now, but yeah, they're basically missing that nose. I'm pretty sure they run a 4-3 up there. So it's no.
You're talking about Mario,
not Mario Williams. No, he was not Mario Williams. But
okay.
Essentially what I'm saying is they are missing that nose. I know they play a 4-3. I know Legend Frazier plays in a 4-3. You know, Trey Edmonds is a great middle linebacker for that defense, but I do think, you know, if you got to get that push up the middle when you are rushing 4 guys. So yeah, again, I like the Bills. I think it's a great take. I think that they are the second best team in the AFC. I think that they do make a run for the AFC Championship. I'm a big Josh Allen guy. But yeah, I think, again, like we said, the archetype is out for how to beat the Chiefs, get pressure on Mahomes, make him run around.
Yeah.
And the Bills are trying to build that, as you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that I've seen across a lot of sports is the teams need to focus on, like, who's the team that they need to beat and get over the hump, and what do we need to beat that team.
It's a copycat league. Every league's a copycat league.
Yeah,
college football is the one place where it's most likely, it's really not a copycat league because it's just the power of recruiting and coaching, to be honest. You know, you got
and you have different systems too, which is cool.
Right. I mean, remember when the Wildcat was big in college football and where that tried to where we're going with that? Cadillac Williams and the other guy that Auburn, that team.
The worst news in the world was when Georgia Tech decided to switch
throw the ball.
There.
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
It's too bad. At least we got Navy still. We still have Navy.
I bet their fans are like, "Can we go back to the whole running thing?"
We want to go 2-9, but we want to see you run the ball every damn play. Absolutely, we want on triple option.
What was something that impressed you from the preseason other than Tim Tebow's block?
I mean, impressed me. I really watched a couple. I watched a couple games. Justin Fields, obviously, you know, I'm a Bears fan. Looked good. Sam Ehlinger, like I mentioned, like I'm gonna call. He played very well. He deserves that job until Wentz gets back. And I'm not a Wentz guy, so it's going to
be Easton.
I don't.
Gonna be
I don't know. I don't know. Either way, that's a really interesting one to find out. I think they both played well. Those are my two. My three quarterbacks I really liked from were Justin Fields, Mac Jones, and Sam Ehlinger. One thing I was really disappointed in, and I after I take a step back and think about it, Tua Tagovailoa did not look as good as people think. Yeah, he went 9 of 11, but he got bit. Mike Gesicki is an animal, and he bailed him out of a couple tough throws. He still looked very hesitant in the pocket. A lot of double pump fakes to throwaways. Like you talk about Justin Fields with reading, it's almost like Tua, his eyes go down and he immediately hesitates. And that again, he's coming off a hip injury, so we have to give him 1-2 years. Like that is Bo Jackson career-ending hip injury. So, you understand you have to take a little bit of time with Tua, but I do think there are some things that mentally he still needs to get over, and that could affect his play. And I think that really puts a cap on a very talented Dolphins team.
Well, I'll be honest. I think that game was in the middle of the day,
1
and
o'clock.
so it was the only one that was playing. And I remember getting on Twitter, and people were freaking out about how well Tua was playing. And then I went and watched the highlights, and I was just like
there was
are we watching the same game?
Late throws, hesitations. I mean, again, bail out 3 or 4 times by Mike Gesicki by himself. I mean, listen, the Bears secondary is still a work in progress too, but the interception was a late throw. There are things he has to mentally get over. And again, I'm glad you agree with me on this, because I really was like, what the hell are you guys watching?
I mean, I honestly, even since last draft, I was very low on Tua. I mean, I know we were both high on Herbert. Obviously, everybody liked Burrow, but personally, I was really low on Tua. I think that he fit that system in Alabama. I think that they basically ran routes specifically for him, short slants, and then they would just throw the ball to Ruggs or Judy and let them run for 60,
basically what
70 yards.
Basically what Mac Jones did this past season. You saw Mac Jones had the best. Mac Jones had the best weapons in college football. Najee Harris too.
And this is a perfect example of why going to the right team or going to the wrong team can make or break your career. For example, if Mac Jones would have went to a different team that doesn't have a simple solution, good coaching that knows who they have with them, like the Patriots, he would have probably not succeeded. Now, I think with this system, he does have the potential to do so. And that's another reason why I'm high on Trey Lance. I like Shanahan. He runs a good offense. He runs a good offense. He knows how to spread the ball. He knows how to work an offense. I like when players go to those teams because I know that the coach is going to coach the way they need to fit that player. Yeah. And we've seen that time and time again. I think the problem is Tua went to a system. The offensive coordinator is trying to get him to be this phenomenal, crazy throws and, over the shoulder type stuff that I've seen from last year. And he's just not that guy. If they want him to do well, have Waddle run a slant and have Tua throw it right to him and let him go. That's what offense is going to work. Or have Gesicki go down the middle of the field and just safety valve to him. That is the quarterback that Tua is. He's not going to be flashy. It's just not going to happen. And that's why I just don't think he's going to succeed. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, that's a storyline to watch for me. Again, very talented Dolphins team. I do think their quarterback play puts a cap on them, but I think that covers most of it. Jared, I don't know about you, but I think that covers most of it on our end. It's a great transition here. I think next episode will be a great time to get our fantasy football sheets out, get our fantasy football drafts on. We'll talk rookies. We'll talk dynasty, even maybe dabble in some dynasty. But let's get those redraft sheets out and redraft ranks out, and let's get the fantasy football game on.
Yeah, I think we can share our screens so we can maybe even both jump in a little mock one, see how we do.
I'm about it. Let's do it.
give
Let's
some
do it.
tips. So we will be back with that.
I'll leave with this. If you make it to the end of the show, I want to ask you this. But when we post this, give us some fantasy football debates. Give us your fantasy football hottest takes. Let's put that on and let's take some of those in the next show.
I love it. All right, for Jared and Alex and the Trails Up podcast, we are out. See you later, guys.
Peace.